I did what had to be done when she cheated, including smashing Carl's face into my truck. I'd been itching to get this off my chest for a while. I thought I had life all figured out. Great job, my lovely wife Lexi, rock-solid group of friends, and a tight-knit family. We were the epitome of that wholesome suburban life. I was the primary breadwinner, pulling in the lion's share of our income. Lexi did her part too, bringing in some extra cash with her craft hobbies and holding the fort down at home, raising our kids, keeping our house a home. It was, I thought, a perfectly fair setup. You see, Lexi, my sweet, domestic Lexi, decided to step outside our marriage and into the bed of none other than one of our friends' husbands. Can you believe it? This wasn't just some random dude, it was Carl. Carl, who would bring his smoky barbecue ribs to our backyard parties and laugh at my lame dad jokes over a cold beer. Carl, whose wife, Alicia, was part of our family's lives just as much as he was. So there I was, stuck in this crapstorm, trying to salvage whatever I could without detonating our whole social group. I'm not a man for drama or bullshit, so instead of causing a scene, I took the direct route. I confronted Lexi, didn't spare a second for her excuses or denials. I had evidence, solid proof, and I knew better than to believe any tear-streaked lies she tried to throw my way. Once I was done with that unpleasant business, I moved on to the next phase of my impromptu crisis management strategy, Alicia. I asked Alicia to meet me somewhere public, a coffee shop in town, and made sure she understood the gravity of the situation. She trusted me, and she knew I wasn't the type to stir up trouble without a damn good reason. We sat down, and I handed over the folder, that damn collection of betrayal captured in messages and pictures. She asked to see it all, so I obliged. It was her right to know the extent of her husband's betrayal, and I wasn't going to sugarcoat anything. Alicia surprised me. After the initial shock and tears, she mustered an inner strength that I hadn't seen coming. She immediately rang up Carl, dropped the divorce bomb right there in the coffee shop, and announced she was moving to her sister's place until everything was settled. I was impressed. It was quick, no nonsense, a lot like how I'd handled Lexi. Well, apparently, Carl didn't appreciate us taking control of the situation. He wanted to confront me, so I agreed to meet him in the broad daylight of a bustling shopping center parking lot, no less. Boy, was he livid. He was yelling and really making a scene, but I wasn't going to stoop to his level. I just stood there and calmly allowed him to throw his tantrum, but then he poked his finger in my chest. Wrong move, Carl. I grabbed him by his hair and introduced his face to the side of my truck. I held him there, tight against the outside of the wheel well. Then I calmly spoke into his ear and told him that it would be best for everyone if he didn't make me do what I was more than capable and prepared to do. I told him that our conversation was now over and that when I let him up, he was not going to say a word, walk back to his car, and leave quietly and in an orderly fashion. And he did just that. Like a child who had needed a spanking, his behavior and attitude changed in an instant. Just like that, the air was clear and the drama was over. Back home, I was left to process it all. Life's a mess sometimes, and you can't control every aspect of it, but you can control how you react. I chose to cut out the toxicity to free myself of the burden of betrayal. Lexi moved into the spare bedroom while she looked for an apartment. I helped her get a fresh start, even though it hurt like hell. I'd agreed to a standard monthly maintenance fee, and then it was over. My marriage, my complete trust in Lexi, was just gone. In the aftermath, I had a lot of time to reflect. Marriage is a gamble. You put your heart, your trust, your life in someone else's hands, hoping they'd keep their end of the bargain. But as I'd learned the hard way, that isn't always the case. If you're thinking about tying the knot, seriously consider the implications. And if you're already in it, be prepared for the worst. The stats are stacked against us. 60% of marriages end in divorce. I thought I'd done everything right. I was a good husband, a good father, a reliable friend. But despite it all, my world came crashing down. It was a harsh lesson, but an important one. Life doesn't care about your plans or how on point you are. It just happens. The important thing to remember, though, is that it's okay. It's okay to be flawed. It's okay to make mistakes. And it's absolutely okay to remove toxic people from your life. I did what I had to do to protect myself, my sanity, and ultimately, my happiness. Lexi and Carl were lessons, not life sentences. Anyway, thanks for reading. It appears that he handled that quite well. What do you think? Was he too easy on them? Should he have made them suffer, or were they now suffering enough without their devoted spouses? What are your thoughts? When you subscribe, be sure to click the notification bell. Click here for more Tangled threads.